Welcome back to today's video. Today's video, we are going to be talking pricing breakdown. I'm going to be doing a highlight and extensions on this client. There is a part 1 to this video that goes over secrets of highlighting that I'm going to do on her today. But today's video, I'm basically just going to insert footage of what I did and talk about how I charge for something like this to give you ideas for your service menu at the salon. So if you're interested in watching this video, stay tuned. Hi you guys, welcome to today's video. So you may have seen part 1 to this, which is the secrets of highlighting. I will link it in the description box below. But today I'm just going to cut that video down into a few shorter clips and talk about how I like to price my blonde services. I get asked this question a lot, so I kind of wanted to go over how we do it here at Jessi Styles. And I do want to advise that every area has their own, pricing quota. So it's really important to make sure that you do your research in your area, see what things like this go for, get ideas from other salons or stylists and then, take some of my advice as well, and then come up with what works for you and your business, because every business is unique and every area is going to be a little bit different. So we are here in Utah and blonding and extensions are so popular. So the hard thing about our area is we have to be competitive and we have to kind of stay in the normal range, but then we also do have our salon and extension company, so we're a little more unique, and with our education business we can get away with charging a little more since we do have a lot of experience and skill to back us. So it's kind of just really hard to come up with pricing, especially in the beginning, but I hope this video gives you a few different ideas. All right, before I dive into pricing, I did want to touch on the fact that I actually got a lot of hate comments on this original video where I did the secrets of highlighting. I understand that overlapping lightener onto blonde hair can be scary and sometimes a big no-no. Trust me, I do make sure that whenever I am overlapping or feathering my lightener down, that my client's hair can handle it. I did do a lower volume developer here, and I did rinse these foils out well before the rest of the hair. So even though I didn't do like 10 volume on the hairline, I did 20, and then I just rinsed them out right when they were ready instead of letting it sit. And my client does have naturally curly hair, so her hair does look a little frizzier sometimes, and her hair is kind of growing back from previous damage. She had gone from dark to light a few times, and because of that her hair was a little more fragile, but she hasn't done anything to it in quite a long time. She's just been letting it grow in and fade out. So we were ready to do this process again. And when you are doing anything that you may think might compromise your client's hair or may not be the smartest route, just make sure they understand that. This is my cousin. She also works for me as my assistant, so she did understand all of that, and I got her permission, and this is what she wanted. So as long as you get your client's permission and they maybe sign a waiver if you're not comfortable, or you just talk to them about the risks of going lighter, I think that's totally fine. Also, having Olaplex is a really great thing to add into your lightener to protect the hair, and doing Olaplex treatments at the bowl, making sure your client knows not to use excessive heat after a service like this. A lot of times damage doesn't happen right away when you lighten hair. It's over time as your client is using flat irons and curling irons and brushing their hair. That's when the damage is really going to start appearing. So you need to make sure that any client that is going lighter is well educated on how to take care of their hair after you have done this service. So this client knows to use really good products. She's been avoiding heat, and also adding extensions is great for a client like this as well, because you end up putting most of the heat styling on the extensions and your own hair kind of gets a break. So that's the other benefit to having extensions other than just having long, amazing hair. So just wanted to touch on that a little bit. It's always really discouraging when you get hate comments when, all I'm doing is putting out free education for you guys. And if you don't like it, don't watch it. That's kind of how I feel. So no need to comment if you would have done things differently. Totally understand. And I'm always open to constructive criticism, but when it's just like blatantly rude or harsh, I just think that it's okay to delete those comments and move on. So just wanted to touch on that a little bit, but it's important for clients and stylists to know that if you want to get lighter, it's going to have to be overlapped. That's just kind of how blonde hair is. Of course, you're not wanting to overlap every single thing, but if they have golder pieces or darker pieces and you need to pop those out a little bit, that's kind of your only option, is to overlap lightener on top of those. And that's just kind of how it is. I don't really know what else to say other than that. So now that we've touched on that, let's move into pricing. So here at the salon, we have something we like to call a blonding menu, and we offer our clients a few different options. Blonding is not one size fits all. It's going to be different depending on your client and depending on what they want. So we like to give our clients options, but they have different things that they can choose from for their hair and their budget. So I actually saw this quote on Instagram today and I wanted to read it because it went really well with this video and I thought it was so true, and any hairstylist out there can probably really resonate with it. So what it says is, it does not cost $100 to get your hair done anymore. When it was that price, it was only chunky highlights that took about 10 minutes to do. You walked out with bright yellow and orange hair because glosses didn't exist yet. Olaplex wasn't invented until the 2000s. Products are not as cheap as they were a few years ago, and almost everyone who sat in my chair never had or never knew what a root shadow was until they came to me. Now everyone wants their hair balayaged, baby lights, many pieces blended, weaved, teased, color melted, shadow rooted, ends tipped out, ashy, hair protected, no yellow, no orange, deep condition, and gloss. So no, all that does not cost $100. And I thought that was so true because there are so many great techniques when it comes to hair color now. I feel like the industry has come such a long way as far as the products we use and the techniques we use. And the great thing about education is there's always new things to learn, and you can never really grow stagnant as a hairdresser now if you're constantly watching videos and going to classes and learning. So because of that, we do have to charge our clients what these services are worth. So like I said, we have that blonding menu so that we can give our clients options. We never want it to be so expensive that they can't afford it, but you also want to make sure that you're getting your time and your product covered and you're also getting what you're worth. So the three options that we have at our salon are a full highlight, a half highlight, and a partial highlight. A full highlight is obviously the full head, and all of these highlights have a base price. So we'll start our base price out, and that includes everything that you foil, and then we do have additional add-ons from there. And then we have a half highlight, which is basically everything from the ears and above. And we also do a halo technique where we do about 9 foils underneath. So they're getting the top and the bottom done. And then the interior we can just tone to freshen up. And then a partial highlight is just the partial crown area with the face frame. So those are our 3 main options that all have a base price. And then you can also add on from there. On this client today, I'm doing a partial, but then I'm also doing a few foils underneath. So this would technically kind of be like in between a partial and a half. And so you can charge a little bit differently for that and have your base price start out between the two. Okay, so at our salon, a full highlight starts out at $180, a half highlight starts out at $140, and a partial highlight starts at $100. And it will go up depending on if you do additional techniques, which I'm doing right here actually, which is teasing out the ends. That's obviously going to be an extra charge because you're mixing up more lightener. So let's just go off of a full highlight to give you guys an example of what a service like that would look like. A full highlight's $180, and then depending on how many extra bowls of lightener you mix up, we charge $20 per extra bowl of lightener. And then when it comes to teasing out ends, we just charge for extra bowls of lightener. So if you're teasing out ends, that's automatically 1 extra bowl that you're using. And if you use more than that, then it's just another extra 20 every time that you mix up. I always like to quote my clients with a range. I never just say a full highlight's $180 because it is going to vary depending on the client. Then when it comes to toning and doing things like that, we charge $10 for every toner mix that we mix up or color mix. It also works that way if we are doing a low light, that would be considered a color mix, so that would be $10. So then when it gets into root shadowing and toning, it's $10 for your root shadow mix up, $10 for your initial toner mix up, and then if you have to mix up more or if you're doing additional tones, then we add $10 for each. So there's 2 different ways that breaks down. The first one would be if you need to go mix up more root shadow formula, it would be $10. Or if you're doing, let's say, like a 7N, 7NA, 7NB for your root shadow, we would charge a $10 for every shade that you're using in that mix. So the 7N by itself would be 10, and then you would add 10 for the 7NB, 10 for the 7NA, or whatever you were doing, and the same thing goes for toners. So you have to make sure you're charging accurately for these things because you're doing these things to give your clients longevity, extra shine, and the result that they're going for.
Most blondes are going to have to be toned, especially because all of the colors that are popular on Pinterest right now are the really ashy colors or beige blondes, or they have a root melt, and those things have to be achieved A, by technique, and B, by toning. So you're never going to get hair that just lifts out perfectly in a root shadow and bright ends. You have to do those things by applying toner. So it's important to explain all of that to your client as well. We do actually include Olaplex in our pricing. We used to charge $30 extra for it, but we were finding a lot of clients would turn it down if that extra charge wasn't included, and they didn't really understand the benefits of Olaplex even if we explained it, and a lot of times they would say no. So just to ensure that our clients always have healthy hair and have that extra protection, we just built it into our full highlight price. So when we're doing that full highlight for $180, it is included in there. Olaplex is always added, whether it's that we're using Blonde Me with the added bond enhancement in there, or we're actually adding Olaplex. That's just kind of included in our pricing. So basically we have that base price, and it just goes up depending on extra mixes of lightener, toner, and color. So because of this, I always like to give my clients a range. If they want a full highlight, I'll quote them starting out at $180 and tell them that it could go up to $280 depending on what their hair needs. Giving a good range is going to give them expectations, because that way if you end up getting that high, you're not going to be surprising them and they're not going to be shell-shocked at the register. But if you end up not going that high, then they're going to be pleased that you didn't end up getting there. So make sure that you always overquote, just so that you can avoid any mishaps. And talking about pricing is really great to do when you're booking the appointment or you're doing a consultation. When it comes to extensions, we like to charge per row for wefts and per bag for tape-ins. We touch on this more in our training, so if you are interested in taking one of our extension classes, we go over this, plus a lot of other things that involve extensions more in depth. But here at the salon, it's $100 per full row, and then it kind of depends on the technique you're doing. We charge differently for the thick hair method, a little differently for the fine hair method, and then a little more for the unseen, because we do have a few different methods depending on the hair type. But basically, we just charge per that foundation, and then we don't include extra charges for like how many wefts we use per row. It's just that one row that you're doing. So my pricing is $100 a row, and I charge the same for a move up as I do an initial installation, because it's the same amount of work to do all of that. Of course, move ups cost a little bit more with product, and sometimes it can take a little more time because you have to remove first, but I just ended up raising my install price to my move up price and charging the same for both of those. Doesn't give your clients any confusion. It can be hard when you have different prices for each thing. And then I've also found charging per row or per bag for tapes gives you the opportunity to make more money the quicker you get, and then your clients always know what to expect, and you're also getting a fair amount for the work that you're doing. So the more rows you do, the more money you're going to make. That is just our install price. Hair is obviously not included in that, but that's how we like to do it here at the salon, and we have found that that works really well for us. So on this client, we ended up doing 2 rows of hand-tied extensions, and then I also added in a bag of tapes for fullness. So how I charged her would be $100 per row, so that's $200 for 2 rows, and then $100 for the tape-ins that I'm installing, which $100 a bag. So that would be $300 for her install, and then she would pay for the cost of hair as well. Like I said, prices are going to vary depending on your area. You may charge less than me, you may charge more than me, depending on where you're at. But the nice thing is, like I said, the quicker you get, the more money you're going to make, because I can do an install like that in an hour. So then you're making $300 an hour for extensions, if not more, depending on the hair they do. And then you're also making that color price on top of it. So if you're able to do a full day of color and extensions, you can add a lot more to your services, bring in more clientele, and make more money in the long run. When it comes to blending extensions and then styling the hair after a color or extension appointment, we include both of those things in our pricing as well. Blending, we never want clients to say no to that, so it's just an added service that is included with an install. If they want to come in and cut their extensions or do something dramatic, we charge for that like a normal haircut. But if they're just getting them blended, we always do that for free. And then when they come in for move-ups and they just get their extensions trimmed, we also include that as well. As far as styling styling goes too, I include that in my pricing for two different reasons. One is I never want a client to leave unstyled because it was an extra cost to them. I want them to leave feeling beautiful and confident. You have to think of it as they are also your walking billboard, and if they go to the grocery store or an event after, you want them to look good so people ask about their hair. So I feel like that should always be included because your client is giving you their business, and you should style their hair so that they feel amazing after their service is done. It's also good for you because then you can take photos and you can get really good content with their hair styled the way that you like it. I hope that this video helped you guys out with pricing a little bit. If you have any further questions, you can always follow me on Instagram and message me there. I know that pricing can be difficult depending on your area, and if you're new, it can always be kind of hard to figure out how much to charge, but it's always a good thing to kind of do your research on before you do your set pricing. I always also recommend charging more every year. So I raise my prices once a year usually here at the salon, and that's really good because then you're not raising it too often, but your clients can expect it around the same time every year. Thank you so much for watching this video, you guys. I hope you learned a little something and it gave you some more insight on how to charge for your services. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram. Thank you so much again for watching and have a great day.